It's Friday, which means it's time for another exciting episode of Ask Us Anything. And boy, do we have a lot of Olympics questions this week. The first three questions from at Tapauzi, Pajoka Fanatic 91, and X-Ray and Drops are all Olympics related. Tapao Z says, since the Olympics are ongoing right now, what movie and or TV show related to the Olympics would you recommend? Pajoka Fanatic 91 asks what your five top sports movies are in honor of the Olympics. His are Cool Runnings, Rush, Moneyball, Ford versus Ferrari, and Bend It Like Beckham, which he says is a guilty pleasure. I agree with all of those five. X-Ray and Drop says, since we've won bronze in the Olympics, what are some badminton shows that are a must-watch? I've watched Racket Boys and enjoyed it a lot. Hopefully one day there will be a documentary about the badminton players like they do for sprinting and tennis. I feel like the answer to this is somewhat endless. There are so many great sports movies, and I really love a good sports movie. I'm a real sucker for a good sports movie.
I was looking through the lists and I realized I'm not a massive fan of sports stuff.
What do you mean, not a massive fan of sports stuff? I thought you liked the sports stuff.
I like the sports, I like the sports documentaries, but there are very few sports feature films or movies or TV shows that I would put in my top anything, which is strange. I found that really strange and amusing. And even the ones I really love are never really about the sports. Like, I love Moneyball. Draft Day is just fantastic. Friday Night Lights, the TV show specifically. I love Air. So all of these aren't really about the playing of the sport.
Right.
I agree. Moneyball's fantastic. Kevin Costner's Draft Day is just up there for me. I don't know why I love it so much, but I do. Friday Night Lights, the movie's great, but I prefer the TV show, I think.
Same.
I love Air, Ben Affleck's Air. The Mighty Ducks is an easy sort of childhood thing. I love A League of Their Own.
Yeah, that's a great show.
Just a couple of like under the radar stuff. In 2011, I think there was a British TV movie called United about the Munich air crash disaster in 1954, I believe it was. I could be wrong, where practically the entire Manchester United football team sort of perished in an airplane accident, and then how the team rebuilt itself and how the league and the rest of the teams helped Manchester United by giving them players and all that. So I love Ford versus Ferrari. I love Apple TV Plus's Swagger about basketball. That for me is my sports stuff. And as you can tell, they're never really about the sports. It's always about the other stuff around it.
Oh, I have a mixed bag of movies when it comes to something like this because I do like the sports movies as well. I really love movies like Mystery Alaska, Cool Runnings.
I love Cool Runnings, yeah.
Mystery Alaska was the one with Russell Crowe, set in a small town about an ice hockey team. I don't know if you remember this movie.
I don't know if I saw that one.
As for Olympic-related ones, I enjoyed I, Tonya a lot.
Oh, yeah?
It goes without saying that Chariots of Fire should be on that list, right? Because it is the ultimate Olympics-related film.
Yeah.
I also really like this movie called Without Limits with Billy Crudup.
Oh,
It's about Steve Prefontaine.
Prefontaine one, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think that was a really good biopic.
I think that one's more Olympics than the other Prefontaine one.
Yes, there were two Prefontaine movies that came out at the same time.
Around the same time.
And one of it was about the fight against the unions, I think.
Yes.
And then this Prefontaine movie, Without Limits, was more about him and the running and what he had to overcome. And Donald Sutherland as his coach, Bill Bowerman. I really like Munich, which is the Steven Spielberg movie about the terrorist attacks against the Israeli athletes in the 1972 Olympics. And I think what a lot of people miss about that movie is what a stark critique it is on Israeli politics and policy.
Yeah.
Because it feels like, on the face of it, a bit of Israeli propaganda, because obviously the athletes get attacked and it's all about the Mossad getting their revenge on the people who kill their athletes. But the underlying message of the movie, I think, really works in today's environment because it's all about how they've lived this life of persecution and they've become cold and hell-bent on revenge and they can't break out of that pattern.
Yeah.
And Steven Spielberg has a very astute eye in kind of painting that throughout the decades in which the movie is set. So, yeah, Munich is another non sports related Olympics movie that I really enjoy.
Now that I've thought about it, Invictus.
Oh, Invictus was so good.
Invictus was good. I mean, aside from Matt Damon's questionable South African accent,
Aside from that,
Invictus was pretty good. It's one of the few movies that really sort of like gets you in the sports heart. It doesn't like make you sad or anything, but it makes you want to stand up and go play rugby or something. Like that's kind of the few one that does it for me.
one other movie that I think is quite underrated that you should watch if you haven't already seen is Foxcatcher. Channing Tatum, Mark Ruffalo, Steve Carell. Did you not like it?
Every time I see that on a list and every time it comes up somewhere, I'm like, I don't know if I'm in the right mood for this. Because, and this is purely superficial, but they're all great comedy actors, but I know it's not a comedy.
No, this is a very odd and mournful movie.
Yeah, and that's always a problem for me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm in the mood for a Steve Carell, Channing Tatum, Mark Ruffalo thing, but this is not a Steve Carell, Channing Tatum, Mark Ruffalo thing.
To get into X-Ray and Drops, I don't know many badminton movies, but I will say that Gold, which we watched recently, was a very good badminton movie and directly related to the Olympics. I think there may be a handful of screenings still in cinemas. So if it's on, you should definitely go and check it out. I'm sure it will hit streaming at some point, but we urge you to watch this on the big screen. It's Adrian Tay's finest work so far, we think. And it tells a really good story about a badminton player that you probably haven't heard of, but he is accomplished and a Malaysian hero. Like, we're talking about people winning bronze medals, which is great, but here's a guy who overcame all kinds of disability to win the gold at the Paralympics and be 11-time world champion.
An actual gold winner.
Gold. Go watch Gold. That is a great badminton movie. And yes, like you, there are lots of great stories with our badminton players, not just Lee Chong Wei, but even the Sidek brothers and all of the people that kind of won the Thomas Cup before. It would be great fodder for like documentary material.
Yes, documentary, but also I think just as like a mini series, like an HBO style limited show, right?
Right?
That crew, the 1992 crew, the Sidek brothers. I'm not gonna try and pretend that I know their names, but the Chinese guys with the doubles.
With the doubles, yeah.
Yeah, so just that period, 89 to like 92, 93, I think that was a very strong, fertile moment for our badminton team. So I think like a limited series, like Chernobyl style limited series would be fantastic. I don't trust anybody to do it. I don't know. I think that would be great.
Chia Soon Kit is the only name that I can remember.
Oh, good catch. Yeah, the doubles teams were great.
They were great, yeah.
But also just that whole thing about the Sidek brothers, right?
Yes.
Just the way they trained together.
Rashid, Razif, Jalani, and Misbun, right?
Yes.
Talk about a family dynasty, lah.
The cartoon doesn't count.
Yeah, the cartoon doesn't
series
count. Doesn't even come
count.
close. No.
That's not a serious approach. That was just money-making thing. Okay? So, yeah. Anyway.
Oh, wait. Before we move on.
Sure.
Blades of Glory, motherfucker. Will Ferrell. Come on.
Okay. I will throw another random sports movie out there. Basketball.
Oh, shit. Basketball.
Basketball.
Fucking rocks.
I want to play
love
basketball.
that movie. Yes. Okay. All right.
Now
We've
we're
had
ready
our
to move
fun.
on.
Let's move on. What's the next question?
At Kailash Laxman asks, did you guys see the sneak peek of the 2024-2025 slate of shows coming to HBO? Which one are you guys most excited for? Personally, I am excited for It, Welcome to Derry, White Lotus, and A Night of the Seven Kingdoms. HBO really is the gold standard of television. Is HBO still the gold standard?
Yes, I think HBO is still the gold standard, but they don't release quite as much as they used to.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think they're being overtaken by Apple TV Plus, who seem to be doing a great job on that front.
Kailash, you're right. HBO is still the gold standard of television, only in that everybody says they want to be the next HBO.
Yes.
Or any new show that comes out, the brand HBO is still the thing, the yardstick, the line that everybody wants to reach. I don't know if they're still producing that kind of content as much anymore. You're right, Uma. I think Apple TV Plus is getting a lot of things really, really right. But to answer Kailash's question, I've made a list. I'm I'm excited for the Penguin. No surprise.
Same.
I'm really excited for Dune Prophecy.
Yes.
And I'm really, really excited for the franchise.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, the franchise I'm super excited about. Penguin, yes. Dune Prophecy. Also, The Last of Us Season 2, Part 2, whatever they want to call it. I'm super excited about that. I'm cautiously anticipating It Welcome to Derry because I love the It movies and I love Stephen King's It. And I don't know what they're going to do with it. So I hope they don't fuck it up because prequels don't have a great track record in general.
Mm.
Same with A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. I'm just hoping whatever they do with that, it is a different show to Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, which seems to share a similar tone.
Mm.
And while that's fine, I think if you're working within George R.R. Martin's universe, it'll be fun to do something different, right? Because I feel the tone getting a bit grating.
Yeah.
And so, just like what Star Trek is doing with their animated sitcom and Section 31, they're like changing things up and they're doing different things within the Star Trek universe. I'm hoping A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is something different. White Lotus, I will watch, and I usually enjoy the show when I watch it. However, I will say I don't know if I can take another season of rich people behaving badly, but I'm willing to give it a shot because I like that it's set in Thailand and I love the cast.
Like for me, with the White Lotus, it is almost never a show that I recommend. Like I would be quicker to recommend Hacks than I would be to recommend White Lotus.
Right, yes.
I enjoy White Lotus.
Oh, but Hacks is fucking genius.
Hacks is just genius. Yeah. But like did I finish the first season? I may not have finished the first season. I definitely finished the second season. But anyway, yeah, like White Lotus is fine. Like it's a show that I will sit down and watch. I will anticipate week to week, but I find it hard to recommend to someone.
All in all, HBO's lineup for next year and towards the end of this year looks great.
Yeah,
We're going to kick things off with the Penguin anyway. And now that we've been told that it's actually a part of Matt Reeves' universe and takes place after the Batman, and the fact that Robert Pattinson might be in it as the Batman as well. Like, so it's nice that it's one long continuity.
Yeah.
I didn't need a Penguin origin story. So I'm glad that it's actually just continuing the movie. I'm even more excited because of that.
Yeah, agreed.
At Plaza Duel asks, besides horror films, don't you think A24 is right now the only Hollywood studio that knows how to utilize Asian talent? Minari, Everything Everywhere All at Once, Past Lives, The Farewell, Netflix's Beef, HBO's The Sympathizer, and now Apple TV's Sunny. I didn't think about it in that way, admittedly, but I have to say, at Plaza Duel, I think you might be onto something. They do seem to respect the stories. I think it's one of the benefits A24 has with being a smaller studio. They get to be very picky with the kind of stories they decide to tell. And I think they also have a very clear mandate in what kind of stories they want to tell.
I also think it helps that they're new. So they're not locked in with institutional, I wasn't going to say institutional racism, but institutional knowledge about how Asian actors cannot lead movies.
Yes.
You know, and the thing I love about it is that a lot of those titles that were named by Plaza Duel don't have the Asian identity central to the movie. The Sympathizer does, yes. Apple TV Plus's Sunny is set in Japan, and that's fine. But a lot of it is just about people going through a thing, telling a story about a people doing a thing, right? So it doesn't feel like the Joy Luck Club, where the Asian identity is a big part of the movie.
Well, even with Beef, right? Asian identity wasn't a big part of the movie in reference to white identity. It was more a case of, hey, look, there are different types of Asians in America and they're all going through their own shit.
Yeah.
Like the TV series would be completely different if it was a road rage incident between an Asian man and a white woman or an Asian woman and a white man. And I think that would have made Beef completely narratively just a lot more harder to watch.
But also a lot more problematic.
A lot more problematic and not as interesting.
Yeah.
Because we've seen the white on Asian, Asian on white type racism before.
Or even just the white on white rage.
Correct. But the Asian on Asian racism is something that is very real, that is addressed in that series.
Yeah.
And I think that's very cool. I mean, it was the same with Brother's Son as well.
Yeah.
And I think the Brother's Son kind of addressed it in a very interesting way, this idea of how, oh wow, look, actually the Koreans look down on the Japanese, who look down on the Chinese, who look down on the everyone's looking down on each other because they all think they're better than the other person, right? And
They're the
even
better
their
Asian. Yeah.
gangsters look down on other gangsters.
Yeah.
The institutionalized memory, the institutionalized racism within studios is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I think the newer guys have a lot more leeway. They probably actually have Asians in the room as decision makers. And I think that goes a long way.
I also think they're willing to listen to Asian creatives who are coming to them with a story that they've gone through, a story that they've heard of, a story that they've come up with.
I'd also like to point out that this is a uniquely American problem.
Mm,
Canadian shows don't seem to have this problem.
no.
English TV shows don't have this problem. But America is somewhat different. I'm not even talking about the rest of the world because we don't have this problem. I think in America, there is this idea of what it means to be American that is actually playing out even in the political sphere right now during this presidential election. And that's something that runs very, very deep. And I think that's why it kind of pervades into all of their popular culture and their decisions and everything else as well.
You know who else I feel do the same thing? The French.
As in,
The French have a very big thing about making an Algerian French movie or an African French movie, or so it's not just a French movie, which is the way you and I would watch it in Malaysia, right? During the French Film Festival, it comes out, it's a French movie, it's in French. But for them, it's, oh no, it's about the Algerian family in France trying to make it.
that's their post-colonial hangover lah.
It's also a very American thing, right? Like, it's not just an American movie, it's an Asian American movie.
We think you're right, Plaza Duel. We think A24 does a pretty good job. And you know what? It's rare that we've actually been disappointed with an A24 thing. I have found some of their movies underwhelming, true, but none of them have been particularly terrible.
Yeah,
And I think even the underwhelming movies are just not for me.
yeah.
I can't actually deny that they're well crafted pieces of film.
At My CC Play asks, recommend some under-celebrated modern TV shows or movies, and why? All right, My CC Play, I'll give you about a couple of seconds to grab a pencil and paper, because this is going to be a long one. So, under-celebrated TV shows. And I think if you're a regular listener to the Goggler Podcast, or if you've spoken to any of us, you will know some of these names. I think 2006's Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip is fantastic. Aaron Sorkin sort of doing his take on the behind the scenes going ons at a Saturday Night Live style weekly comedy show. Just the best. I've started rewatching The Newsroom from 2014, also Aaron Sorkin. That one's on HBO. Feels very pertinent in our current American political news cycle. I've got a bunch of Apple TV shows, which I just love. Bad Sisters, For All Mankind, C, Silo, Swagger.
Actually, I was just going to say, get yourself an Apple TV Plus subscription because a lot of the shows that we recommend, and we feel there aren't enough people watching the stuff on Apple TV Plus. And part of it is Apple's problem. They do very little marketing for those shows and they're relying on strong word of mouth. And even though there is strong word of mouth, I think there is just so much out there that it gets lost. But if you get yourself an Apple TV Plus subscription and you blindly click on something, we promise you it's pretty damn good.
What we've always said is that Apple TV Plus's shows are very good. They may not be for you, you may not like it, but it is not a bad show. I think there is a very clear distinction between a show that you don't like and a show that is bad. They are two very different things.
A slightly older show that I would recommend, which is one of my favorite shows of all time, not old, I mean like 2000s,
Psych.
which is fantastic. It's got a small niche following, but I would think it is severely underrated. It's with James Roday and Dule Hill, and James Roday plays a character who is pretending to be psychic, and they're detectives, and they solve murders in every episode, and it's just very, very funny. A TV series that Bahir and I both love, and that we highly recommend to everyone we meet, but it is very underrated and very underwatched. Evil.
Yes.
It is on Astro, and you can watch it on Astro, and it is absolutely tremendous. It is by the people who make The Good Wife and The Good Fight, The Kings, and boy, it is A great show.
The other one that I stumbled on quite late is a sitcom called Superstore. It's on Netflix right now. For me, that is the thing I would recommend if you loved or watched or enjoyed the half-hour sitcoms like Big Bang Theory, like The New Girl. So if you like those kinds of shows, I think Superstore will work for you. It's a long run. They're all on Netflix, but I find it the most sort of like heartwarming. I really, really like it. It really makes me feel things, and I don't like feeling things.
That's a big fat list for you to explore, my friend. Check it
Yeah.
out. Let us know what you think. Give us some of your recommendations as well. Let us know what you think we need to be watching. Final question at Iman Bahare asks a simple question this week. What are your go to movie watching snacks? Surely it depends on the movie or TV show, right? I wanted to
Oh,
dedicate an entire episode of Ask Us Anything to this because we could be talking about this for about 30 minutes at least, but we'll try and keep it short.
yeah.
Now, Iman Bahari, are you talking about in the cinema or at home? Because that differs as well. However, my general rule for wherever I am watching a movie, no noisy snacks.
Yeah.
Not just because it bugs other people, but when you're crunching in your head, you can't even hear the dialogue that's going on. So, no massive bag of Doritos, for example, because you're really missing shit as you're crunching on those snacks.
I don't know. I would politely disagree.
Oh,
I mean, I agree with your sentiment. However, I do love me a big bag of Doritos.
I don't know, man.
I will say, if I'm out of the cinema, it's only popcorn. I don't want the sausage with cheese.
I don't want the fish balls.
I don't want the fish balls. I don't want the nachos. I'll eat before. It feels weird for me to not be eating popcorn when I'm at the cinema.
Call it whatever, social conditioning. I don't
It's
care.
completely, utterly social conditioning. Yeah.
I do like the occasional like M&Ms or like a chocolate snack.
So okay, for me, it depends. Like I will have an M&Ms or a chocolate snack if I'm at a cinema chain where I do not like their popcorn.
Yes.
I would go to my preferred cinema chain because I love their popcorn. But if I can't go to that chain, then I will have a peanut M&M.
So what you're saying is if you end up at TGV, you will have a peanut M&M lah.
I didn't say anything. At home, I very rarely have snacks when I watch a movie at home.
So it depends for me. The other rule I have is I don't have complete meals while I'm watching a movie because it requires me sometimes to look down at the food while I'm cutting it.
Yeah.
And that gets in the way because I'm missing stuff that's happening on screen. So pizza is a go-to
Oh,
meal / snack when I'm watching something. One-handed, it's great. I can pick it
yeah.
up, eat it, put it back down. Fantastic. Pizza works for me. I also like things which I can eat with a spoon, ice cream, yogurt,
Mm,
things like that. So I'm just like dishing it into my mouth, dipping it
Yeah.
into the bowl or something. That works
Yeah.
as well. Occasionally, I will make some microwave popcorn, or if I'm feeling very, very rajin, I will make popcorn on the stove. But popcorn is a go-to snack both in the cinema and at home for me.
My problem is I never have those snacks at home. So unless it's like a really big drop that I'm looking forward to, then yeah, me and my wife will make a day out of it. So yes, we'll get pizza or we'll get some ice cream or we'll get some snacks. But invariably, if I'm just putting something on a Friday night because it's for work, I don't really have snacks. Mostly because the snacks don't last very long in the house.
That is also true. Sometimes they don't even last through the whole damn movie.
If I just have snacks in the house on the off chance I'm going to watch something, it also means that when I'm not watching anything, I'm snacking.
I also like me a good trail mix. Cashews, peanuts, stuff like that. But pre-cracked, obviously. I don't want the kacang yangin where I've got to be like opening the shells and then popping it into my mouth and then
That's sports thing for me.
okay.
Yeah, that's sports. Then the kacang onion will be sports. Yeah. But not for a movie.
Not for a movie. Okay.
Not for a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like trail mix, maybe some pretzels. Yeah, things like that. I think things I can eat with one hand, things that don't get too dirty.
Yeah, the pizza thing's always right. Yeah, because I realize that whenever me and my wife are looking forward to watching something at home, we'll just order pizza.
What about drinks though?
Normally, it's just a cold soda pop. Oh, we might order. We've had on occasion ordered like a bubble tea.
Nice.
Yeah. So that works too.
If I'm watching stuff for work late at night, then there will be coffee involved.
Mm.
Sometimes iced, sometimes hot.
You know what it is? I think. Sorry, Iman Bahari, we've taken over the question right now. I need to make the movie watching experience at home more of an experience. I think that's the thing I don't do.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like it's Uma needs me to watch a movie for work, so I'm just gonna go to my couch, put it on, and then just sit there and watch and pay attention.
I think it depends on what you're watching the movie for, right? I'm the same. If I'm watching a TV show for work or if I'm watching a movie for work at home, I also usually have my iPad in front of me or a pen and a notebook because I'm making notes and things I want to remember to talk about in the review or cool things that I noticed or Easter eggs or whatever. Because, God knows I will forget that almost instantly if I don't write it down. And so that's happening as well. And it's actually a bit of a work experience. I think when I make a movie like an actual experience, it's something I sit down to watch with my wife, or it's something I've been looking forward to, or even a rewatch. Like I'm like, hey, I really feel like rewatching Ghostbusters again. Then I'll get my snacks ready, sit down, and just make a thing of it.
I don't do that. Even when I really feel like rewatching. I really wanted to watch Draft Day over the weekend. I couldn't find it anywhere. But like,
I'm surprised you don't own it.
yeah, I know. I'm surprised I don't own it too. I could have sworn I did, but apparently I don't. So I have to go and look on the iTunes store. It's always I want to watch it now. I don't want to spend 20 minutes pulling together snacks to watch it. The most I might do is shut the curtains, turn on the aircon. But that's about it, really.
I feel like I got to start practicing doing it more now because by the time my little fella grows up, he's going to need these first time movie experiences. Like the first time he watches Back to the Future has got to be a thing, right?
Yeah, no. I mean, he can't watch it at home, though. We got to figure out how to get him to a cinema to watch that.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Maybe Back to the Future 3 can watch at home, lah. But like the
one
first
and
one
two,
cannot.
yeah, one cannot. Definitely cannot. It has to be on a big screen.
When the first time he watches Lord of the Rings.
Oh, dude, it's got to be like a big screen experience.
Like, does anybody know of like an actual private cinema someone has that we can just like rent out for a while?
Yes.
Yeah, just like with seats and stuff. Because I think it'd be a shame for your son's first experience of the Horns of Gondor being at home. Like, I know you've got a pretty good sound system, but like, no.
Still, it's not good
Howard
enough.
Shaw's music just rising. Cannot. No way. Yeah. Sorry. You just ran off with that. Yeah.
Okay, I think we spent more than the required amount of time answering questions about snacks.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the end of another exciting episode of Ask Us Anything. Thank you so much for your questions this week. Keep those coming in. You know how to reach out. Goggler MY, all of our social media feeds. You can also email us on podcast@goggler.my or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline, 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.